Hello again, this is Oliver from GETS or Global Expatriate Tax Services, and you can contact me through the Expat Focus website or on my email address shown here. I always partner with Expat Focus with my presentations. Thank you very much to them for supporting me with all this work. They are an excellent partner to work with on HR and expat issues. Today we'll be looking at leaving the UK and the UK tax issues related to that, and going to two specific places, and they are Hong Kong and Singapore, and the tax delights, or certainly the tax benefits available in both host countries. So let's look at UK tax exit issues that you need to face when you're leaving the UK. So that's mainly income tax issues, but basically HMRC have certain requirements of you when you're departing the UK, especially as we're looking to establish non-residents in most cases. There's a bullet point checklist of main issues. You can also go to my website or look at the Expat Focus website, which will give you more guidance on the things you need to think about when you're leaving the UK, tax exit issues. So the first one is the exit form P85. This is a 4 to 5 page form you need to fill out to notify HMRC that you are leaving the UK, and in most cases you're intending to break residence for UK tax. So this is very important because you will be backing that up with an exit tax return later on, and you need to notify them now that you're leaving if you're seeking to be an expatriate non-resident for tax. A lot of British people who go abroad to the Far East and anywhere in the world keep their main UK home and rent it out. Well, that's a that rental property is generating UK rents which are taxable in the UK potentially. They're a UK source of income. So you need to think about how you're going to arrange that rental property if you're going to use a letting agent, and how you're going to keep records of money coming in and expenses going out. Our objective would be to keep it total net rents below the personal allowance. I won't go into too much more detail, but it's certainly record keeping is key to avoid excessive UK tax burden. Another issue which comes up, which is very common, is the UK state pension. And what we're saying there is, should you still be paying in UK national insurance to generate a bigger state pension retirement pot? Do you need to do that? And potentially, yes, you do. So we need to arrange that, speak to HMRC, speak to the relevant NIC team within HMRC, and decide whether it's worthwhile you still paying national insurance. That involves some quite detailed projections, but it's something that I can help you with if you need to. And once you've left, sometime after, you'll want to file that first UK tax return. Yes, you still need to file in the UK. You'll file a UK tax return, and that will be typically called a split year return, because you are leaving the UK generally partway through a tax year, and we can get you a UK refund there. And in fact, if you go back to my first presentation, the first film, which was about leaving the UK, there's some more detail on that and the benefits of that. Finally, the thing to mention is, do you still have to file UK tax returns while you are away? Well, yes, you do. You're most likely going to have to file non-resident returns, and you would file as a non-resident and report UK source income such as bank interest and rental income. Not everybody has to file a UK tax return, but if you're renting out your home, I would suggest it's very likely you will have to file. Right, hi there. So let's have a quick look at the region that we're discussing, the geographic region. It's Southeast Asia, and in the coming weeks we'll be looking at other countries' tax systems and expatriate reliefs in those areas. We'll look at Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia, South Korea. Will cover a lot of areas. But today, as you know, is Singapore, which is sitting just next to my hip. If you find Malaysia in the purple on the map, it's a city-state just below or just on the tip of Malaysia. As for Hong Kong, if you find Taiwan, you'll see, as you probably know, it's a province of China, which was handed back to the Chinese in 1997. Both these countries have a British Empire history, and that no doubt creates their extra popularity for the British expat populations that go there. Okay. Okay, let's move on to Hong Kong and its tax system. This is their skyline behind me. It's certainly breathtaking and an area of extremely rapid growth. and very popular with expats. So the great news on taxes, I've got several to mention. There are no estate taxes in Hong Kong, no inheritance tax at all. There is no VAT. And in terms of income tax rates, the 2% rate of tax, that is their lowest rate, and that applies to Hong Kong dollars under 50,000. And the 17% rate is their top rate of income tax, which applies on income over $300,000. So it really is a very different tax regime to the one that British people are used to if they're coming from the UK. Let's talk about some other features of the Hong Kong taxation system. Their tax year runs to 31 March, which is unusual, but it's mapping the UK system pretty closely. Their HMRC equivalent is called the Inland Revenue Department, or IRD. And when you come to filing tax returns, you can file jointly or individually. So a joint tax return would allow you to access some of the reliefs of your spouse or partner, which can be beneficial in some cases. One of the things I really like about the Hong Kong system is if you come to work in Hong Kong, but you're on a foreign employment contract, let's say you're assigned by a UK company, you should only be taxed upon your Hong Kong duties income, not income generated in other states. So just imagine if Hong Kong was only your base and you were working in other countries in the region, then potentially you've got a nice tax relief there. You can exclude non-Hong Kong income. Some personal tax reliefs that you can take, which are excellent, which you don't see in the UK. You can take a tax deduction for home loans, mortgage payments, and you can also take a deduction for Social Security payments. So that's very nice. I'm not going to go into Social Security in too much detail in Hong Kong. Suffice to say, it runs at 5%. And if we were getting into the possibility of you moving to this region, we should look at that properly as well. But I don't want to bombard you with too many tax facts on this country. Thank you. Okay, let's now move on to Singapore, which is a city-state, as we mentioned, and a quick name check to my daughter, Amy. It's her favorite place on the planet. It's a very clean, welcoming country, and the stories about chewing gum being illegal, that's an urban myth, they tell me. So let's talk tax. Their tax year is the calendar year, and their filing date is sometime in April. It varies slightly depending on whether you are filing online or not. Let's talk about some other features of the Singapore tax system. If you were a resident taxpayer, you would be taxed at between 2 and 22%. So again, it's a favourable regime, which we've seen in Hong Kong and different to what we're used to in the UK. If you were a non-resident, you'd be taxed at 15% or higher. And we can go into more details about residents and non-residents. I have to say that as a Brit moving to Singapore, you're more likely to be a long-term person, therefore in the resident tax regime. And as a tax resident, there are some extra reliefs you can have. You can take a tax deduction for charitable contributions, for life insurance, for education. So that's all quite appealing. When we talked about Hong Kong, I was listing all those taxes that didn't exist in that country. Singapore says no capital gains tax. We have to be careful on that though, because they can sometimes call against something else and tax it as income. Let me give an example. If you had a stock option, for example, you might say, oh, there's a capital gain in there, but Singapore would relabel it as income and tax in that way. So it's not as clear cut as saying no CGT, no capital gains tax. That's not strictly correct. The last point to mention is the Supplementary Retirement Scheme, or SRS, which is something we'll be familiar with. It's basically a state-sponsored pension scheme, and the mechanics of it we will see in other countries whereby money in is fully tax deductible. So it's a very appealing tax relief indeed.